Hi, I'm Mary O'Brien. Welcome to Unity Through Community. It's our monthly television show that lets you know what's going on here in the community through the eyes of Hastings community education. And it's August. The fair's coming up. It's going to go very quickly now, and pretty soon you'll be seeing those yellow school buses back on the street. We get excited because all of our early childhood kids come back to Tilden Community Center, and we're just really pleased that we have so many opportunities for families and for everyone in the community. Our new community ed catalog with all of our fall classes will be coming out at the end of the month, so watch your mailboxes for that. We do have one upcoming event I want to mention. It's our second community conversation about the Constitution, and this one is about the Bill of Rights. Yours, mine, ours, and theirs. And I think with all of the various Supreme Court decisions that came down this particular summer, it'll be an interesting time to talk about how your life interfaces with the Bill of Rights and how we all work, especially here in Hastings, to make sure that everybody's perspective is respected. So this is coming up on Tuesday, August 19th from 6 to 8 o'clock at Tilden Community Center. We have hors d'oeuvres from 6 to 6:30. The conversation starts at 6:30. It's facilitated again by Dr. Bill Spinelli, and our first conversation was very well received when we talked about how the Constitution built the Hastings Bridge. So you're warmly invited. Everybody in the community can come. It's free, which is really terrific, thanks to a grant from the Minnesota Humanities Center. And all you need to do is RSVP, so 651-480-7670, or online at www.hastingscommunityed.com. And while you're online, if you're the parent of a school-age child and you need childcare before and after school, we have our terrific Kids Campus program at all 3 elementary sites. We also have care at Pinecrest for kids in 5th and 6th grade at the middle school. Not all those kids are ready to be home by themselves after school or want to be home by themselves after school. The middle school does have the Oasis program Monday through Thursday, but then Friday we do have what we call Oasis Plus, specifically for that age group of kids. And now is the time to register. I know a lot of families say, well, we know we're going to go anyway, so we'll just wait and do it at open house night or whatever. That cuts it kind of close to the start of school. So I would really appreciate it if you take 5 minutes out of your schedule. You can do it online. It's really easy. Register for Kids Campus. Again, www.hastingscommunityed.com. Click on the link to school age care, and you'll get right through. So as the new catalog comes out, we have been busy thinking about what kinds of opportunities we want to offer the community this upcoming year. And last spring, we had a very successful conversation, a panel discussion called I Want My Life Back. And it was aimed at those of us in the Hastings community that are 50 plus years old. I know none of us like to admit it, but there we are. So at that conversation, we had 75 people, and what we talked about that night was, what does life when you retire look like? And one of the questions that the facilitator, again our friend Dr. Bill Spinelli, asked was how many people had financial planners or had gone to see a financial planner. And almost everybody raised their hand. And he said, well, how many of you have gone to see a planner about what you want your life to look like? And the audience kind of shifted and looked at each other and said, we haven't. And Bill said, well, you know, there's not a whole lot for that. So my friend, Lori Thrush, who is our senior center coordinator, and I sat and talked and said, you know, we have to offer something. We heard the community say we need to know this. We need to have some places to come and talk about it, to think about it. And what are we going to do, and how are we going to do this? So we were very fortunate to hook up with, not literally, but to be connected with a couple of people in the greater Twin Cities community who are doing that kind of work. And so I want to introduce them to you because we're going to talk about what we have coming up this fall that I honestly think that anybody in Hastings who's 50 plus, who is retired, who is thinking about retiring or who sees that it's even 10 years out should take advantage of this terrific set of free classes we're going to have for you. So first of all, I want to introduce Lori again. Lori Thrush, she's our Senior Center Coordinator. Has been with us for a long time, but is always doing something different. That's why one of the things I love about Lori's work is that she does a lot of the tried and true, but she's always doing, something different, thinking about what do we do next. Jay Hapola works with AARP here in Minnesota, and your exact title is?
I'm the Community Outreach Director.
Okay, he's the Community Outreach Director. And David Alley works with an organization called Shift, and I'll let David tell you a little bit about Shift.
Well, Shift actually is an organization dealing with precisely the issue you've raised, people in midlife transition. It's designed to, in a collaborative, community-based way, help people navigate those kinds of transitions. So we talk about sort of fundamental questions like, well, at midlife, who am I? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? How do I help others? And it turns out about 80% of our members have questions about purpose and meaningfulness in the work that they do.
Okay.
So Shift supports them with workshops and classes and groups, and got about 2,700 people in receiving our monthly email.
Wow.
And it varies from month to month with the different groups that we have. And we're excited to being able for the first time to offer some workshops here in Hastings.
Okay, yeah, I'm really excited. So Lori, talk a little bit about how we met with Jay and with David and where we're going with all this.
Well, how to reach 50-plussers in the community has been on our radar screen for the last several years. We've all heard about the boomers coming up, and as we talk about what that's going to look like, the sky's the limit. But at the same time, we know that people are already doing programming to reach that population. So we took the opportunity probably over a year ago to meet with Jay and just to have a dialogue. What is AARP doing to reach the boomers? I know, as somebody who receives the AARP literature and magazine, that they're doing a lot to reach the 50-plussers. And so what are they already doing? What can we partner with? How can we work together to offer something? And then you had met David at a function, and were really intrigued by, and Shift partnered with AARP, and so it was just kind of a way of coming together to discuss what can we do in Hastings that we can truly reach the 50-plussers and offer something that is not just, we've done a good job of programming for some of the needs, trips and tours and game nights and, educational programs, but this is really helping people discover about themselves. And as somebody who's there, the conversations that have gone on in our house between my husband and I, when we're 10 years out, you're already starting to think along those lines. And life has changed, and what is that going to look like with all those questions? So that's kind of how we, formed a partnership, and it was just kind of a natural link to offer something in Hastings.
And I think, one of the things that's so true and that we really heard at the I Want My Life Back planning session, or the panel discussion, was that there's so much more to it than just figuring out where your money is. And I think that's something, Jay, that AARP has really kind of seized on in the last couple years, because I think sometimes people have a misconception of what AARP does. They know that they're aggressive. You're not even 50, and they're sending you the membership card. They have a wonderful database. But that they were just more of an advocate group based out of Washington, looking out for needs of senior citizens, and that's not at all true today.
Right, like the TV commercials say, a lot of people know of AARP, but they don't know AARP. And there are a lot of misunderstandings about what we do, or maybe just a lack of knowledge. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy membership association, and the funding that we receive from our members and from other income streams is utilized for our social mission, and that's really to help enhance the quality of life for people 50 plus as they age. And so among our programs is one called Life Reimagined, and it was developed with an institute of good thinkers and experts who developed a curriculum that people can utilize. It starts online for most people, and it can help them set some priorities for their time and their purpose that they'd like to have in life. It starts online, but then folks can get together in person like we're doing here in Hastings in September and connect with each other about those possibilities they'd like to have for their retirement.
Okay, so what we're offering is the Life Reimagined checklist.
Checkup.
Checkup, sorry.
Right.
Okay, the checkup. All right, so tell me about what the checkup is going to look like, and if I come to the checkup, what can I expect?
Well, Jay can help me amplify this. There are 4 of us actually from Shift that went through training so that we could become official Life Reimagined checkup guides.
Okay.
And it was a great experience. We learned a lot about how to, in a short 1.5 to 2 hour time period, really help people in a very safe, supportive way. Just ask some of these questions and just think about, where am I? And so there's a great brochure that AARP provides that people work through. It's actually a workbook that people can take with them. And I brought just a one-page overview that talks about the 6 practices that are involved with this process, the Life Reimagined process. And as everyone would be expecting, it starts with reflection. I think so many of us are tied with so many obligations and responsibilities, and so when do we have that time to start thinking seriously about what's happening down the road? And so then it's a process. It's not totally sequential, but even in this short workshop, we're exposed to the idea of how we connect with other people, with some of our passions and ideas. Maybe I've been an accountant all my life, but really I'd like to be an artist as well. How do I explore that? How do I make choices that'll move me down that road? And then how do we talk about repacking. Sometimes we have a lot of things we have to let go of, and important actions that lead to further reflection. So it turns out to be just an exciting 1.5 hour kind of period that starts a process going for people to think, okay, I'm going to live longer probably than my parents or my grandparents.
Right.
Going through the checkups, I found that it was very inspirational and even for
Because you're not 50
well,
plus
a
yet.
younger person like me, to start to think about take a look back, reflect on my experiences, and also the tools that I bring to the process internally, and then become very inspired by talking to others and connecting with others, and just to see the possibilities that exist when people can be intentional about the purpose they'd like to have in life.
And I think we heard that at the panel was a couple people talked about how they didn't realize this at the time, but they were so their job.
Right.
And got a lot of their identification out of their job, a lot of their self-worth out of their job, and so and got a lot of reinforcement about who they were and the good work that they did. And when that went away, it went away, and it was sudden. So one day you have that, and the next day you don't. And recognizing that that's still really critically important to me. And so how am I going to find some other mechanism to be able to get that in my life? And you can't always just fall into it. Things don't always just kind of fall into place. Lori, what I know you've seen people who come to the Senior Center program explore different things that they never thought they would do before, or even they had some interest and just didn't have the time for it.
Right. I think, as those of us who are working, we know you set your hobbies and some of your interests aside, and you kind of forget about them. And then when it's like you have the time to then explore them, sometimes you're paralyzed by just what you've always known. And so, it's fun to see people kind of start to dabble in things and let their creative side out, or whatever their passions are. They have to re-explore and find those that are there. They've just put them on the back shelf for so long. And so I think this just gives them a really good opportunity to purposefully come and take a look at that, instead of just kind of having to try to figure it out on your own.
Exactly, and that's one of the little shorthand expressions we use in our organization is shift happens. and sometimes, you know, it can be a wrenching diagnosis from a doctor. It can be the death of a loved one. It can be getting laid off at work. Sometimes it's just a nagging feeling of just not doing something that's really meaningful. So shift can be a purposeful process, and that's the ideal way. So we really try to help people, and again, we use that term navigate, to think purposefully. And sometimes we talk about passion, purpose, and a paycheck. Little alliteration there, and also to kind of capture the idea that it's sometimes not enough just to be a volunteer someplace.
Right.
You know, I also need some income. You know, a lot of folks
And
have had hard
I mean,
years.
that's what we're hearing, that people aren't necessarily retiring as we used to know retirement.
Exactly.
They're leaving one position to go somewhere else, but maybe they're going to completely shift gears and do it,
Right.
shift gears,
Thank you.
and do it in, you know, in a totally new way. But sometimes you're so stuck in a rut that you can't see what it has been there all along, as far as a passion or a drive.
You know, this weekend we took a bike ride, and now you're an avid bike rider. I used to ride my bike a lot, and then just haven't done it. I don't have the time. And so on Saturday, my son and daughter were gonna, you know, take a bike ride. They had the grandchildren in the trailer, and they had another bike, and they said, "Do you want to go with?" I said, "Sure." And you know, so as we're riding, my son says to me, he goes, "Well, you know, you're really pretty good at this." And I had to laugh. I said, "Well, you know, the old expression like falling off a bike." He goes, "No, but you can keep up." And I said, "Well, what did you think?" And he said, "Well, you haven't ridden a bike for a long time." And I said, "I know, but it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it, and that if I have time, I might not want to do it again." I said, "In fact, that's on my list. You know, my bucket list is I'd like to get a bike again and do some more bike riding." So I think it could be something as simple as that, but there was an impetus there. You know, it was Molly and Tom saying, "We're taking a bike ride. We have an extra bike. Do you want to go with us?" No, if I'd been left to my own devices, I'd be sitting there saying, "Geez, I'd like to ride a bike," and not do it. And so that's what I think is so critical about this process and people coming together, is that it kickstarts you into thinking about stuff that you're going to have to think about anyway. You know, and gives you that chance to start to formulate it in a way that makes sense for you, and that you can find a lot of fulfillment, and don't have to be told what to do. I know Bill said that at the panel. You know, be on the ride you want to be on, not the ride somebody puts you on.
Well, these checkups really can be a springboard for many people. It can kind of open up a process, and one of the things we're really excited about is the week after these checkups, Shift will be offering at the at Hastings on site here a series of 4 deeper dive, Life Reimagined deeper dive workshops. There is a small fee connected with that, but what it does is use the book as a study guide that Richard Leiter, local author and consultant, has written, Life Reimagined, and then really lets people over a 4-week period, meeting once a week, really go a little bit deeper and do that exploration. And again, like you said, not alone, but in a systematic way with a supported group. And it's beginning, it's even advertised as thinking about it as a new chapter of life. It's not just how I want to start declining, but it's like things are different.
Right.
I decided to run the Twin Cities Marathon this year.
Oh, good
I
for
ran
you.
it before, 20 years ago, and I'm noticing I'm not quite the same as I was 20 years ago, but I can
it's
still do
okay,
it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there are great opportunities for this new chapter in life.
Right.
It can be really exciting.
Right now, you're doing something that we learned through Life Reimagined, that if you tell someone about a goal that you have, if you write it down, you're going to be 76% more likely to accomplish it, because you have some accountability. So now you're accountable to Mary for finishing that marathon.
I'll be looking in the paper for your name.
That's right. We've got to practice what we preach, huh, Jay?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Now, have you done, AARP done any of these Life Reimagined checklists throughout the country or here in the Twin Cities, and what's been the response?
Very new. It's very new. Very few people have had the opportunity to participate in some of the pilot tests. So these in Hastings are some of the very first.
We love that.
Yeah, some of the very first across the country. But what we have learned is that it's very inspirational for people. They like to stay connected with each other and with AARP and follow up on their goals over time. And they're being successful. They're making the changes that they want to make in their life because they have some support, and taking that first step could be coming to a Life Reimagined workshop.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I'm so sold on this because I think we, in general in life, and especially as we age and we plan for what life is going to look like. So another example, we just came back from a wonderful trip overseas. We have had the good fortune of having exchange students, and so now we go and see them. We're able to visit them, and so my one exchange daughter said, well, we just built this house and we have an extra bedroom, so when you retire you can come and live here for 6 months, and my other goal is to go live in Hawaii for 6 months. And my son said, well, are you putting any money aside for when you have to go to the home, or are you just going to spend it all? And so I said, well, I haven't thought about that much yet, but yes, I mean, we do. We've already met with a financial planner, like so many people have. At some point in time, you do that. And it did occur to me that that does, to some extent, drive what those other components of my life are going to look like, but I still can shape those other components of my life. And so many of us, our whole life, have been very planful. And so to think that we're going to hit this magic age when we retire, whether it's 55, 65, 70, 75, that everything's going to fall into place is really not giving us the credit that we should give ourselves. And so much of it is we're busy, like Lori has said.
Well, and I think that we're hearing that people don't have enough money set aside for retirement. Well, okay, but there's things you can do that don't cost money and that can be very purposeful and meaningful in your life. And so I think that this will help people explore some of those options. And that's what I see at the senior center. Not everyone has money, but they are living life to the fullest within this Hastings community. They're volunteering. They're involved in, the community theater or their churches or, teaching other classes or whatever. I mean, they're leading very meaningful lives. Right. And I assume some of those folks have already discovered what those passions are in their lives. But, you don't want to let money stop you from exploring what that is for that stage of your life.
Well, in a very real sense, I think what we're talking about is a profound kind of assessment about what is quality of life. Money is a part, but we know money is not the whole answer. What is the source of happiness, of purpose? Well, quite often it's how I connect with other people, what I'm doing that has value. And so that's the opportunity here to not reject the past, but to build on it, to create something that represents maybe a new definition of retirement, but represents, I think, an approach to really improving and in some ways kind of polishing the quality of life that we all want. That's exciting. That's a tremendous opportunity.
So when is it?
Well, our Life Reimagined checkups take place on Monday, September 22nd from 6 to 7:30 or Tuesday, September 30th, noon to 1:30. So if you're still working, bring a bag lunch, come on, sign up for it and come to either one of those that are free. And then our deeper dives take place on the 4 Tuesdays in October from 6 to 7:30. And all of it takes place at the Tilden Community Center. For deeper dive, there is a $99 fee for that, but and you can register at the Community Ed website for that too. But those are your opportunities to participate. And you don't have to do the deeper dive after taking Life Reimagined checkup, but that's another opportunity to just take it to the next level.
And I remember when we first met with you, Jay, you said one of the things that at that point the whole Life Reimagined initiative was looking at was if you found a bunch of people online who went through the online process and said they were interested in woodworking, you know, then you would try to find a place for them to go and do woodworking. And that, I think, is one of the real beauties of community ed, is all that's in place already. And so as people go through this checklist together, if we find affinity groups, if there are people who are there who say, well, I'm really interested in this, or, you know, I'd like to know more about that, we may have a community ed class through our adult enrichment class that they can do, or they can just continue meeting on their own. You know, go over to Caribou or go to Dunn Brothers or take it to other groups that they have in the community. So we're hoping that this is going to be a springboard to kind of transform how everybody in Hastings looks at moving into those 50-plus years, and that we'll continue to provide supports for them based on what they tell us they need. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be great.
I think in addition to attending a workshop, or maybe someone isn't sure if this is for them, I would encourage people to go to lifereimagined.AARP.org, and there are tools and resources online, and people can get a taste of the program before committing to coming in person. But we'd certainly love to see everyone there in September.
Okay. Okay, so this is a new initiative. We're one of the first communities to really dive into it. Didn't you tell me Edina was doing it too? Did they do theirs yet? We're going to be on top of Edina and
we'll beat Edina by a few weeks, I think, for their first checkup.
Okay,
But yeah,
good.
it's other cities around the country are really starting to dive in now too.
Okay, okay.
So I just challenge people to invite their friends, their
Yep.
coworkers, you know, neighbors, you know, get a group together and you know, your spouse, challenge your spouse to do it with you. So that, you know, you can take it from there as a couple. So
Yeah, I'm hoping, you know, within the school district that our people who are 50 plus in the school district will come together and do it. Or, you know, if they can't do it, maybe they'll find a way to encourage us to take it to them. I hope that at community leaders and in the various businesses in town, that really it's a gift to them to encourage their employees to come to this free workshop, because how many people are retiring, Jay, in the next how many years?
10,000 a day, right?
10,000 a day.
Getting to that stage,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Right. And you know, you mentioned employers. More and more employers are becoming enlightened and providing these type of resources to their employees as they retire. It's a real need and a real benefit.
Yep, and so that's something that we can do through community ed as individual employer, because we have a lot of small businesses here in Hastings. You know, all you have to do is just say to your folks, go take it. So, or give them an extra half an hour on their noon break and let them come to the noon workshop. So, yeah, and I think that benefits the workplace as well, because if you have people who are staying engaged as they move in, so they're not, you know, in community ed, sometimes they'll say to you, are you a member of the Short Timers Club because you're getting ready to retire? But if not, because I think the more you think about what your life is going to look like out here, the more engaged and the more involved that you stay with your current job, because you know that you're continuing to hone the skills that are going to help you as you move out in life. Very cool. And so Shift is working with AARP on this, but Shift also has separate resources. So if I wanted to know more about Shift, what would I do?
Just again, go to the website, www.shiftonline.org.
Okay.
Is the website, shiftonline.org.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited about this, and I'm so pleased that we're able to collaborate with you and that you're able to bring your skills and expertise to us here in Hastings. So I think that it's a real benefit to all of us. And as Lori said, you know, give that gift to yourself. Bring your spouse, bring your neighbors, bring your coworkers, and just come for it's one evening. Tell us the dates again, Lori.
Monday, September 22nd, 6 to 7:30. Tuesday, September 30th, noon to 1:30. And then Tuesdays in October for the deeper dive.
Okay. We are really looking forward to a great fall, and we think this will be a tremendous kickoff. And we will see you all at Life Reimagined.